This problem is a little bit different than the ones that we've been working on, in that there are absolute value bars on both sides of the equation. So the way that we deal with this, we're still going to have two equations. The first one, we basically just get rid of the absolute value bars. So that's going to leave us with this. The original equation, no absolute value bars. But then we also have to solve another equation, and that one would be the left side, we're just going to take the bars away. The right side, we're going to put a negative in front of it, in front of the whole thing. That's important. And so right away, for this second equation, you're probably going to want to go ahead and just distribute that negative sign. Let's just go ahead and do that right away so we can see what equation we're going to have to solve there. So distributing the negative, this is what we get. Okay, so anyway, now we have to solve both of these equations separately. What I recommend is that you clear all the fractions away. That's step one after we've reached this point in our equations. And so to do that, let's multiply by the least common denominator. Since we have a 3, a 4, and a 6, 12 is the number we're looking for there. So what we're going to do is multiply both sides of this equation by 12. And we'll do these one at a time, so I'll come back and we'll do the same thing over here. So multiplying both sides by 12, remember that in this case we have to distribute that 12 to both of these terms. On the left side, the 6 and the 12 and the 6 are going to cancel, leaving us with 2. So we'll have 2 times this left side numerator, and then on the right side, notice that when you distribute that 12 in there, the 12 and the 3 are going to cancel, leaving you with 4, and then multiplying the 4 times that 2 there, you're going to have an 8. So 8w, and then this similar here, 12 over 4 is 3. So that's the equation that we have now. This one we can just solve as usual. So we're going to distribute this 2 first. Okay, then notice that our next step, we're going to have to subtract 8w from both sides. And notice that that completely eliminates the w term. So what are we left with? Negative 2 is equal to 3. Well, negative 2 is not equal to 3. So what does this tell us about this particular problem? It tells us that there is no solution. To that part of it. So let's try the other one and just see what happens there. So similar, what we can do is multiply both sides by this least common denominator. So it's going to be 12 again. Oops, let me do that here actually. Okay, and then very similar to the last time, the 12 and the 6 will cancel. We'll be left with a 2 here. So 2 times the term in the numerator. And then similar here, you distribute that 12. The 12 over the 3 gives you 4. Multiply by the 2, you get 8. So we're going to have a negative 8 here. And then distributing it to the second term, the 12 over the 4 gives you 3. So we're going to have a negative 3 there. Okay, then we'll distribute the 2 here. We'll get 8w minus 2 is equal to negative 8w minus 3. Okay, now the w terms are not going to cancel. So to solve this one, we will add 8w to both sides. And that's going to, on the left side, give us 16w minus 2 is equal to minus 3. Now we need to get rid of this negative 2 there, so we'll add 2 to both sides. And that's going to give us 16w is equal to negative 1. And then if we divide both sides by 16, we get W is equal to negative 1 over 16. Okay, since the first one gave us no solution, we actually ended up with only one solution on this particular problem. So let's check to make sure that that solution works. I think I've got a little bit of room here to check that. Let's do it. So if we plug that in, 4 times negative 1 over 16 minus 1. And this is all over 6. And it's all in absolute value bars, is equal to 2 times negative 1 over 16 over 3 plus 1/4, and again all of this is in absolute value bars. So all I've done here is just plug in the proposed solution, negative 1/16, into the two w's that we see there. Now we'll simplify this. 4 times negative 1 over 16, that's negative 1/4. And due to lack of room here, I'm going to do a little bit of this, we're going to skip some steps. So that's going to give us negative 1/4 minus 1. Negative 1/4 minus 1 is the same as negative 1/4 minus 4/4. And so that's going to give us negative 5/4. And then that is itself over the 6 that we had there. And don't forget, this is an absolute value, so that negative is going to go away. If I do this on the other side, negative 1/16 times 2, that's the same as negative 2 over 16, or negative 1/8. So here we'll have negative 1/8 over 3 plus 1/4. And again, this is also in absolute value bars. Now we just have to simplify these. So since I'm running out of room, what we have left here is, if we invert and multiply this, we'll have 5 over 4. This, remember, is 6 over 1. So that we can invert and multiply, we'll have 5/4 times 1/6. And so the 6 and the 4 in the denominator will multiply and give us 24. So we'll have 5 over 24 on the left side. Okay, then on the right side, and remember that since it was absolute value, that negative goes away. On the right side, we'll have negative 1/8 over 3, and again, remember this is the same as 3 over 1. So if you invert and multiply here, you get negative 1/8 times 1/3, so that's negative 1 over 24, negative 1 over 24, plus 1/4. And in fact, instead of 1/4 there, we could write that as, to get the common denominator, multiply by 6 over 6. That would be 6 over 24. And then notice what happens. 6 minus 1 is 5 over 24. And so look what we get. 5 over 24. And so this verifies that that is indeed a solution. And it's the only solution, since the other one, the other equation that we had, gave us something that is never true, no matter what W is. So only one solution, negative 1/16.